When I first started creating content for clothing brands, I thought a clean product photo was all you need to get good results. I could not have been more wrong. And after working with 252 clothing brands on their content strategies, I've seen exactly what works and what's a waste of time. And so to save you the struggle, here are 40 brutal truths about creating fashion content that I wish I knew sooner. Lesson number 1. Most clothing brands, when they go to creating an Instagram page, only post their product. And when you go onto their page, that's all you see, and it looks like a giant ad. The problem here is that ads are skippable. When you see an ad come up on a YouTube video, for example, you just can't wait until you can press skip ad, and you don't want to be skippable as a clothing brand. And so lesson 1 is to provide value first and sell second. Watch your page from the perspective of someone in your audience and think, do I actually enjoy the content I'm seeing here? And what would provide value to me as a viewer or someone that wants to be part of this community? Lesson 2, I had a brand owner that came to me saying that he was having trouble growing his page and learning how the content algorithm works. And I looked at one of his posts and he had all of these views, but no comments and no engagements and very few followers. And the content wasn't that great either. I quickly realized that he was boosting his posts on Instagram artificially. These aren't ads. These are just, he's pouring money into the posts that it shows to more people. So lesson 2 is don't boost posts. The reason why is because it artificially inflates the effects or the results that you see, which means you don't get the opportunity to learn as a brand owner what actually works and what doesn't. And it means that you're going to have to perpetually invest money into boosting, and it's not even really being consumed or enjoyed or interacted with by the audience that's seeing it. So what's the point of doing that if you're not going to sell products on the other side? It's actually very important to feel every failure in the beginning, because the quicker you fail, the quicker you learn. Lesson 3, content creation becomes very hard when you're making it for people that like to wear clothes, because it's highly broad and that restricts you to flat lays, studio shoots, model photos, and we've seen enough of that on the internet. And so lesson 3 is define the community you're trying to build. When you clarify the shared beliefs, actions, values, cultures, ideologies, lifestyles, and traits between the people that are joining your community, you know exactly what kind of content is going to serve them and what brings them together and what unites them, what the common string is, because that at the end of the day is what community is made of. It's a commonality between everyone in it. Lesson 4, I have had countless clothing brand owners come onto the calls with me and tell me about the many thousands of dollars they've lost and the boxes full of stock that are collecting dust in their garage. And it's because of one simple reason: they didn't have any following. They decided to go out, order something in bulk, and then release it to absolutely no one. And no one bought it, of course. And so that's why lesson 4 is to conditionally release products. What does this mean? It means you put conditions, not a date, but this is how many followers I'm going to get to before I even release anything or even announce anything. You could do the same with an email or SMS list. And it's a much more sure way to go about releasing products. A great rule of thumb is to take your number of followers, multiply it by your worst conversion rate, and cut that number in half. That equals what you were most definitely going to sell out in terms of number of units. Lesson number 5. I often get people coming to me saying that they've invested so much into influencers, but nothing has come back as a result from it. They didn't get the sales they expected and certainly have not got the return on investment that is to match what they put in. And so my answer to this is lesson 5, stop investing into fashion influencers. They're generic. We've all seen it before, and their audiences are highly monetized. They've seen so much fashion, and you are going to be a needle in the haystack in terms of all the other clothing brands that appear on their page. So instead, invest in niche specific influencers. And that's going to help you build your brand identity. The audiences are probably monetized much less, which gives you the opportunity for a higher conversion rate. Lesson 6. I was working with a clothing brand that was in the basketball niche, and they were adamant about working with top NBA players as influencers. And so they would reach out to them and they would even fly out to meet them just to give them their products. The only problem was they'd spend so much and this NBA player would barely give them anything back, barely even showing their product or wearing their product because they already had all the sponsors and it was hella expensive with no returns. And so lesson 6 is don't punch above your weight. Leave the really big guys for those brands with lots and lots of resources. If you've got 1,000 followers, find an influencer with 5,000 or less, around the similar size to you. Don't be reaching out to those with millions and millions because you'll get little from them. It's going to run you dry. You're going to go broke and it's just not worth your time. Lesson 7. When I started creating content with clothing brands, over time I found it hard to get creative ideas again. I found myself doing the same flat lays and product videos. It was getting really boring. And so lesson 7 is look beyond the fashion industry. Looking outside of the fashion industry for content inspiration can really ignite the fire once again. Take a football brand, for example, and this only works with niche specific brands. I'm going to be looking at football clubs, football players, football theme pages, all of which don't really have anything to do with fashion. And the kind of content they're posting, I'm thinking is valuable to clothing brands. That is going to give me some ideas of what I can post to gather a community of footballers too. Lesson 8. I'm going to read you the same story in 2 different ways and you tell me which one is more engaging. Last year, I went to a factory in LA to check on my manufacturer and the place was a mess. Machines overheating, workers stressed, and the owner scrambling to keep up with orders. Here it is the second time. The air reeked of burning fabric as I stepped over a pile of half-stitched hoodies. The owner wiped sweat from his forehead, muttering, "We're 3 weeks behind." I glanced at the machines. One was smoking. This was my manufacturer. The first version was helicopter storytelling, where I give you an overview of what happened. The second kind was POV. I bring you with me. I give you dialogue. I give you setting, context, and you really feel what's going on. Do the same with your page and when you're telling stories with your brand. If you want to tell a story about how your brand started, behind the scenes, or maybe with someone that embodies your brand, really encourage them to bring you into the scene using those vital elements of POV storytelling. Lesson 9. I had a brand that came to me with 300 followers and 2 weeks later, he grew his audience to 25,000. How do we do it? Lesson 9 is use trial reels. This is a feature on Instagram that allows you to test pieces of content with non-followers, people that aren't in your audience. And what we did is for every single piece of content, we tested 3 different versions, just changing one element. That element was the hook. And so I encourage you to do the same. For everything that you post, create 3 versions. It doesn't take that much more time. Post them as trial reels, and whichever one performs the best, that's when you upload it to your main page. And I promise your growth will go through the roof. Lesson 10. How much do you post of what content as a clothing brand? Well, Dave Media introduced me to the 50-30-20 method, and it goes something like this. 50% of your content should be world building. This is the ultra specific references to things that only people in your community understand. For a footballer, it's the gear that they bring to training. It's the whistles from the coach. Anything that's like a mood board. 30% then is activity focused. It's actually seeing your product on real people in your community doing the thing that they do when they wear your clothing. The last 20% is product refreshers. And this is where you remind the audience that you do sell clothing. And that's what this is about at the end of the day. Lesson 11. Some brand owners find themselves frustrated because their influencers don't deliver content on time. And when they do, it's crap anyway, or they have to hassle and follow up a million times for it. And that's why lesson 11 is to shoot with influencers in person, always. Find them in your local area, and if it means you have to downgrade the level or the status of the influencer, the number of followers that they have, that so be it. But you can shoot a lot more stuff with them at a lot higher quality that you have control over, and you build deeper relationships when you do it in person. So find them in your city and do it that way. Lesson 12. I want you to watch this video from Trico.
How the hell did we sell out this jersey in less than 5 minutes with a closed website and $0 spent on ads? I could give you a bunch of reasons, but honestly, one will be enough. It's the same reason Matthias has spent $5,562 on Trico so far. You see, there are 2 types of people in this world. The first type just follows the crowd, buying whatever an ad throws at them, filling their closet with stuff they don't even need. But then there are the leaders. The ones who see beyond the hype, the ones who move with purpose. And if you're still watching, I'm betting you're the second type. I trust the algorithm to show my content to those who strive for greatness, because real recognizes real. And if you're someone who's willing to go the extra mile, someone who's chasing their life purpose with everything they've got, then Trico is your brand. Only those who truly understand the vision join our wait list. And let me tell you, once a month, you get a password. But here's the catch. If you're even 5 minutes late to the drop, you're gonna have to wait another month. Why? Because you can't rush greatness. So if you're ready to stop following the crowd and start leading, hit that waitlist link. But remember, this isn't for everyone. We don't really need you to join.
Now, coming away, you'll either feel pumped up or turned off. You're in or you're out. And so this is why lesson 12 is to be divisive. Make very clear statements about who's in your community and who's out, and do so through your content. Because as a result, your lovers, the people that are head over heels, your super fans of your brand, are going to be so much more loyal and way more in than they were before. Lesson 13. Many clothing brands have the issue of customers coming for a particular drop or product and leaving once that desire is satisfied. But this can be combated by developing characters. Characters are people that appear on your brand page consistently, like you as the brand owner, maybe employees, key customers, or other content creators or influencers. Having familiar faces for your brand is an underrated approach to content creation with creating a community, and a brand that does it really well if you want to do extra research is UVU. Lesson 14. Every community has a clubhouse. It's a place for members to gather and talk and interact about the things and the reasons they're a part of that community in the first place. And for most clothing brands, that place is the email list or the SMS list. It's a way to show your loyalty to the brand. But for most followers, that's a big jump to make from following on Instagram to giving you their email and SMS. So use the close friends feature on Instagram. This is a way you can almost force them into the place to become a part of the community, because you get to choose who's on your close friends list, and the conversion rate is much higher. Plus, the overall engagement on close friends stories is going to be higher overall. Just make sure that you're providing some sort of exclusive behind the scenes or special interaction or decision making that your close friends get. Lesson 15. Most influencers, when you reach out to them, will ask you for money, especially if they're of a good quality. But mostly it's because your offer to them isn't good enough. So lesson 15 is offer influencers something that they would pay you for. Here's what this looks like. Instead of a typical collaboration where you're asking them to wear your clothing and market it, send through the images, look through their page, notice what kind of content they're creating, and offer to create it with and for them. This is probably something they would have to hire a videographer and editor for, but you're just going to do it for them. They're going to wear your product in the process. You're going to post it as a collaboration at the end, and you're going to reap the benefits of leveraging their audience. It's a win-win. Lesson 16. I had a brand owner that figured out how to create 60 pieces of content in a single day, only to find out it didn't work after he posted and created it. So stop creating content in bulk. It's better, especially in the beginning, to adopt a more nimble approach that allows you to adjust, test, experiment, and change very quickly according to what works and what doesn't. Creating content in bulk simply keeps you limited. Lesson 17. Generating content ideas is hard as it is, but it's made even more difficult when you have to generate a new idea every single time you want to post something. And so lesson 17 is to use content series, not content pieces. Think of it like a TV show, which is the series. And then each episode is the pieces within that series. The characters, the setting, and the basis for each story stays the same, but the actual events inside the episode change. And so for a clothing brand like Nike, this looks like a broad idea of interviewing athletes and creating inspirational videos. But from each piece of content, the athlete changes. They don't have to recreate a new content idea from scratch every time. Lesson 18 is start community challenges. Include parts where you encourage or require participants to share content with them in it wearing your product. And on the plus side, you'll probably sell some garments in the process just because of that factor. Just make sure that whatever challenge you pick, it aligns with your brand identity. Lesson 19. I was working with a Christian athletic brand that wanted to engage their fairly inactive community. And so they wanted to launch some sort of community event. They thought they had to do it far down the line, but I said, why don't we do it now? In fact, let's just invite your friends and it doesn't matter who else comes. So lesson 19 is to create fake in-person events. Sometimes the bigger deal about an event is the content that comes from it, less the actual people that come to the event. Because as an audience member that follows your social media page from the other side of the world, I just want to see and know that the community exists so that I can be a part of it, even if I can't come to an event in person. That means that at a fake event, you still achieve the same content effect, and over time, you can, of course, build it with real people that come out from your community too. Lesson 20. A brand came to me and they had no idea how to figure out what their brand identity was or who their community was for. So we implemented a very simple strategy that took the top 5 most loyal customers, found their Instagram pages, and analyzed what kind of things they post and who they follow. This gave us important information about what they're interested in, what they believe, what they value, their ideologies and lifestyles. And we could find common traits between all of these loyal customers to figure out how we can replicate more people like this. So lesson 20 is to analyze your most loyal customers. If you have nowhere to go in terms of defining your community, this is a fantastic place to start. And don't do nothing with that information. You can use their interests and beliefs to determine what you start posting about on your page. Lesson 21. Do you ever find yourself wondering what you are going to post? You're totally stuck for ideas. Well, that's why this lesson is to build relationships in DMs. Simply reach out to engage members of your audience and ask them, what do you want to see? Be curious about who they are. I've seen brands do this, and the connection between their community and the brand strengthens dramatically. Plus, you don't have to do the guessing game with content anymore. Lesson 22. Many fashion labels call themselves clothing brands when really they're just clothing businesses. What differentiates the two? Well, a brand is the association of 2 or more things. It's your name associated with X activities, lifestyles, people, and the stronger that association, the stronger your brand is. So lesson 22 is to sell the lifestyle, not a product, because your brand isn't about what you sell, it's about who you are and the kind of lifestyle that people live when they wear your brand. Plus, creating lifestyle content means that you can also post when you aren't dropping or releasing any products, and you can still grow your audience because it's evergreen. It's not determined or based on a specific product at a specific time. Lesson 23. Do not come to me and say that my content isn't working when you've only posted 10 times. I see it like going to the gym. If you went and you did 10 reps of a bicep curl, would you expect to see results? No. But maybe if you did 10 sets over 10 weeks, then maybe you would see results. But within that are thousands and thousands of reps. So lesson 23 is to post daily. This will give you an upper hand on most clothing brands out there that don't do this. And the reason why is because the shorter the gap between when you post, the quicker you learn what works and what doesn't. Lesson 24. Have you ever asked the question, what camera should I buy? I get it. You want to make great content at a high quality. Well, the answer is use what you've got. If you've got an iPhone, it's one of the recent ones especially, it has a fantastic camera inside of it. And if you are considering to buy a camera, you need to weigh up the cost and the value to the business. If you want to buy a camera that matches the quality of a recent iPhone, you can very easily expect to pay between $2,000 and $3,000. And so you need to consider whether that $2,000 investment is going to pay off in $2,000 worth of sales directly because of that purchase. If the answer is no, don't do it. Instead, my suggestion is to learn lighting. That'll make any average camera look good. Lesson 25. I used to post to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but I couldn't make it work. And when I went to focus on YouTube only, that's when everything changed. And so lesson 25 is pick one social media platform, at least to start, until you master it. And I'm still getting the hang of this one. Your focused efforts on learning one platform will create stronger growth rather than diluting your education across multiple platforms. And I hear what you're saying. You don't want to put your egg in one basket, but the truth is you don't have any eggs yet. Lesson 26. Many brands, when they start posting, are a little all over the place, and it's natural. And so, lesson 26 is to create a tagline. This is a 2 to 4 word slogan that encapsulates the brand narrative that is in every story that you tell. This is like Nike's Just Do It. Every time they create a piece of content sharing the story of an athlete or what they do and how they do it, them getting up early in the morning, that is just another embodiment of their tagline, Just Do It. So do the same for your brand. Lesson 27. When many brands start out creating non-product content more about their lifestyle, the problem is it lacks any substance, and as a result, they don't get the results they expect. So focus on storytelling. Storytelling has a lot more depth to it. I can connect easier with it as an audience member, and it's better than a shallow mood board or photo dump, even if there is some world-building elements to it. Plus, I can remember stories a lot better than general information, details, or product. That's how we are wired as humans. So if you want your brand to be memorable, tell stories. Lesson 28. When crafting content strategies with brand owners, I'm often suggesting these crazy ideas for things that we could create, and it's often met with the response, I don't know how I would do that. And the problem is, in the initial stages of ideation, it blocks the process to worry about how. So lesson 28 is to worry about execution later. My suggestion is you set a timer for 10 minutes and have a controlled scrolling session where you take notes on particular sources that you find inspiring that you would like to replicate with your own brand. Then read over those notes, set another timer for 10 minutes, and create your own list of content ideas without worrying about how you're going to make that work. Finally, after that first 20 minutes, you're going to look through that brain dump, find one key idea that you believe could be achievable, that you'd enjoy creating, and flesh it out further. And we do the execution later in that last step. Lesson 29. Sometimes people call BS on my content because they say, my audience doesn't care about my story or my brand message. They just want to buy my t-shirts. That's why they're here. That's what they're looking for. Which, for the most part, I've got to give them credit. It's probably true. But here's the thing, the 20% that do care about your story and your brand message are also the 20% that are your most loyal and contribute 80% of the revenue. So lesson 29 is don't focus on the 80%, focus on the 20%. The loyal minority, create content for them and only them. And if we can expand that section of your business, you will dramatically increase not only your sales and your revenue, but also your overall enjoyment because you get to talk about stuff that you actually care about. Lesson 30. Many brand owners want to make a buck, a lot of money. Some other brand owners want to change the world in some very real way. And if I'm coming from the perspective of an audience, it's much easier to come behind the mission of a brand owner that wants to do something selfless. So lesson 30 is to write a mission statement. This is not only a great source to create content from, but will also define the reason why people are coming to be a part of your community. What are they helping you achieve in this world? Lesson 31. Sometimes I see brand owners trying to build their personal brand on the clothing brand page, which serves as a contradiction when they tell me they want to build a community, because that's not a community, that's a personal brand. So lesson 31 is don't make it about you. The way that you should be thinking about your brand page if you're trying to build a community is how to encapsulate many personal brands of many people in one place, not only your own. Lesson 32. I don't know if I subscribe to the whole idea of not looking at analytics or statistics. I get it if it stresses you out. Keep your mind intact first and foremost. However, those same people that make those comments also complain about not getting the results. So lesson 32 is repeat content that works. And the only way to do that is to look back on your content, see what performs better, see what performs worse, cut the stuff that doesn't work, and do more of the stuff that does. Very simple. Lesson 33. Flat lays and studio shoots for your products can get super boring, and if you're selling a lifestyle, can sometimes clash, make you look like a theme page that's just selling products to make a buck. So shoot your products in context. This means asking the question, where does someone wear my brand and my product? And go to that location, include the action, and shoot it there with the model. For example, a running brand is not going to shoot in the studio. They're going to shoot outrunning. I know it sounds obvious, but lots of brands miss this. Lesson 34. I had a client that was creating an MMA themed brand. He came to me with an issue, and it was he doesn't have enough time to create the content I was asking him to create. I said, don't you do MMA fighting? Aren't you training, and at the gym, do you shoot then? And that was the life-changing turning point for this brand owner. So lesson 34 is integrate content creation into your life. If you're creating an MMA brand, film in the gym, film your training, film your tournaments. This is stuff you're already doing. It doesn't take that much extra time, and you've got the sets laid out. So whatever your brand identity or community that you're building is, insert that here. Lesson 35. If you've scrolled Instagram for any amount of time, it's easy, very easy, to look at big brands like Cortez or Nike and think, why isn't my content as good as theirs? And it's totally paralyzing. It can be. It makes you stuck in thinking, I'm not even going to create anything until this is perfect. So lesson 35 is don't compare yourself to big brands. They've got different resources that you don't have, so don't expect to create content at the same standards. And the content creators behind Nike never got to the level they did, creating the quality that they do by being a perfectionist. No, they created lots of content for many decades to get to that level. And if you want to do the same, then create content appropriate to your size right now. Lesson 36. With everything I'm saying, some of the common objections are, I get it, but I still want to create content of a particular quality for my clothing brand. Here's the way I think about it. There are 3 different factors in the equation. There is time, there is quality, and complexity. You have to sacrifice one of these. I say focus on simplicity and sacrifice complexity. This means you can still create a lot of content quickly at a high quality because there's not much to it. For example, instead of creating a whole 2-minute fashion film for your next campaign, create a one-shot. You can still have the quality, all the lighting, it looks so professional, and it's simple. Lesson 37. I was working with a startup with 100 followers, and he was adamant about having a private account like Cortez. But here's the thing. Desirability comes with popularity plus scarcity, and he didn't have any popularity. He had 100 followers, for goodness sake. That's to say that if you're missing one of the elements in that equation, you don't have desirability, and the whole private account thing doesn't work. So 37, if you're thinking about it, don't create a private account too early on. Don't rob yourself of the greatest asset you have in this beginning stage, which is organic, short-form content. This allows you to reach the world with your brand, and you just simply don't get that. If you're going to do it at all, wait until you've consistently provided value over a long time, people know your name, they want your stuff, and then you can make it private. Lesson 38. The stuff on social media that performs the best is different. This is likely why you're watching this video, why you might have found some of my other videos. It's because not other people make brand breakdowns like I do. I have a unique personality and I like to lean into it. The opposite effect happens when we see another day in the life of a brand owner series. So lesson 38 is no more day in the lives. In other words, stop posting trivial content because with oversaturation, novelty becomes old and the same stuff stops working. You can apply this to any concept in social media in general. Finally, lesson 39. If you find yourself with some extra cash, invest into something that nobody can take away from you. It's education. Invest in your education. Figure out how to make content work. Learn hook strategies. Learn videography and photography. Do a lighting course or an editing course. It doesn't matter. Invest real money into your education and I promise it'll excel, and what you will be able to do with that will provide you with a lot more money than buying a camera ever will. Now it's your turn. Leave a comment below letting us know one thing that you're going to change today in your clothing brand after learning what you have. This is a great space for accountability. This is why we have a community, so why not utilize it? And if you found value in this video, you'll probably also enjoy the one that's on screen right now. It's going to teach you in 5 steps how to turn your clothing brand into a community. Click on that video now and I'll see you over there.